Hey everyone, Brendan Sander here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to a very special review for the brand new LA Guns album, Leopard Skin, featuring founding members Tracii Guns and Phil Lewis. This is their 11th studio of new original material that includes both Tracii Guns and Phil Lewis, releasing on April 4th, 2025. Mark your calendars. It is going to be one to check out. We're going to get into it here. I'm going to review it, break it all down, do an unboxing. But before we get into that, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like. All those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool videos just like this, where I'm talking about the brand new LA Guns Leopard Skin before it comes out, trying to get you guys up to date so you can go out and get it. But the band itself has a sort of very complicated catalog of albums. And I just wanted to touch on that a bit before we start jumping into this whole thing, because they have 23 studio albums under the name LA Guns. And it features a variety of material. We've got the, of course, original new material that is what I like to think of as the studio albums proper. But they also have some covers albums, and they've also re-recorded some albums. So those all combined in their 23 studio albums. And at different times, there has been up to 4 versions of the band. There's, of course, the original LA Guns band itself during the heyday. Then we've got the Phil Lewis version of the band. We've had the Tracii Guns version of the band. At one point, original vocalist Paul Black had Paul Black's LA Guns. And then drummer Steve Riley had his own version, Riley's LA Guns. So all of that together, you combine all those up, that's where we get the 23 studio albums. But with Phil Lewis and Tracii Guns, there are 11 of them. This one here being the 11th in that series. So that's what we're going to talk about here. But I want to jump back and touch on just some of the band's history to sort of set the context and mood for all of this, because the band goes all the way back to 1983. A lot of people don't realize that or know that they actually go back that far, been around that long. Of course, you know, probably biggest sort of claim to fame, or the thing that you hear so often around the band, is that in 1985, LA Guns merged with Hollywood Rose to form Guns N' Roses. Yes, Tracii Guns, his name is the name that is in Guns N' Roses. His and Axl Rose formed that. The stint, though, was only very short time, very brief, that he was part of that, then left to reform LA Guns, at that time featuring Paul Black on vocals. However, just prior to the release of the debut album, in comes Phil Lewis, who takes over. And then between 1988 and 1994, the original heyday of the band, they released 4 classic albums, in my opinion, including the 1989 album, which is my favorite out of all of these here, Cocked and Loaded, and featuring probably their biggest hit, Ballad of Jane. It was a top 40 hit, so very well known for the band, has always kept them in the limelight ever since. But since the mid-90s going forward, there was a revolving door of a lot of different musicians coming in and out. As I mentioned, at different times throughout the career of the band, there's been up to 4 versions of them. Phil Lewis, Tracii Guns, and some of the other original guys did reunite in 1999. They released 2 albums at that time, but Tracii Guns would leave again. He'd actually do his own version for a little while. Phil Lewis did his, and then in 2017, they came back together, and they've been going forward ever since, releasing 4 previous albums plus the brand new one, Leopard Skin. So 5 albums now under the reunited lineup that they've got. So Missing Piece in 2017, The Devil You Know in 2019, Checkered Past, one of my favorites of these, in 2021. The last album, Black Diamonds, and the one we're here to talk about, Leopard Skin. So this one here, a 2025 release, and as I mentioned, 23 different studio albums under the name of LA Guns, but this one here being the 11th. So we've got 10 tracks, on this new album, and it clocks in at 39 minutes. It's produced by Tracii Guns. Lineup for this one here, as mentioned, we got Phil Lewis on vocals and Tracii Guns on guitar. Then we've got Ace Von Johnson on guitar, Johnny Martin on bass. We have Sean Duncan on drums, but he's live drums only. He doesn't play on the album. The album has Adam Hamilton, a previous member of the band, doing the drums in the studio. And so this album here, or before we get into that, actually, the band itself has done a lot of different styles throughout their career. We've got, going all the way back to the debut album. This was more in the sleaze metal, sleaze rock style that has kind of become known. By the time they got to Hollywood Vampires, this was more straight ahead rock. Still had some of those sleaze elements in it. For Vicious Circle, they actually moved into a more metal direction on some of the tracks. And then really going into sort of an alternative metal direction for American hardcore. And then when they reunited the first album that they came back doing, Man in the Moon, which is also a personal favorite of mine, this one brought much more of a soulful sound and a groove-oriented sound mixed with that sort of rock sound. So again, something new, but a lot of different styles that the band has gone throughout its career, not just that very early glam metal sound of the sleaze rock style that most people know them for. And sometimes production has been raw and dirty. It's also been clean, airy. Other times somewhere in between all of that. So there's such a variety of what you can get from the LA Guns based on all these different albums and things that the band has done throughout its career. Now, of the 5 albums that Phil and Tracii have done since reuniting, the first 2 were in that more sleaze rock vein, very down and dirty. And then Checkered Past, that one had some very interesting change of pace style material that was on it that was more similar to Hollywood Vampire from 1991 and Man in the Moon in 2001. But Leopard Skin, which does fall somewhere in between all of that and is more akin to Checkered Past. The last album, Black Diamonds, that one was more a mix of the classic and newer direction of Checkered Past. So even with those last 5 albums, we've had some variety of material, in fact, almost covering all the different eras of the band, which has been a lot of fun getting those and enjoying those and listening to those over the last so many years. This album here, though, is full of killer guitar riffs on it, signature Tracii Guns elements throughout this album. There's also a lot of groove on this one, and that's where I was saying this is more akin to like Hollywood Vampires. This one here, it's got, that groove, that more straight ahead rock sound on it. Each of the instruments are given room to breathe on this, so it's not a sort of down and dirty mix like we've had on some of the other ones here. Plenty of sleaze elements still within this, but they also bring in the more soulfulness side of things. Phil's vocals are up front on the mix, which sounds really good. He himself is sounding good. There's peaks and valleys on this, and the songs just flow really well, one from the to the next one on here. And so at no point within this do I lose interest in the album. There's no skippable tracks on this one for me. Very fresh sounding material. In fact, sounds like the band had a lot of fun making it. It's just got a good energy and vibe moving all the way through it. But I would say the biggest difference on this album, Leopard Skin, is the superior mix than, say, previous album, Black Diamond, which that one there, for me at least, was a little muddy, a little more raw than what I like from the band. This one here sounded really good to my ears. But I want to talk to you guys now about some of the standout songs. I mean, there's so many good ones. We could talk about them all, but I just want to hit on a few of them. So first one, track number 1, Taste It, which was the first single and opening song for the band on here, I think tells you everything you need to know for this album. If you like that song, it rocks, it grooves, it's got killer lead work from Tracii Guns on it. Phil sounds fantastic. The rest of the album falls right in line with that. Track number 4, Hit and Run is a cool mid-paced rocker in the vein of the song Beautiful from Man in the Moon back in 2001. If you guys remember that one, it's one of my favorite songs of that album, but also one of my favorite songs overall, which in turn makes this one my favorite song on this album here. Really, really been enjoying it. Track number 5, Don't Give Me Away, is a nice, sleazy, dirty little rocker, the kind we like from the band. It's very catchy, pulls you right in. It's perfectly placed right after the last song we just talked about, Hit and Run, brings the groove right back in, and it just, you want to start pumping your fist in the air with this song. It's so good. So for track 7, though, Runaway Train, it really changes pace here, where this one is a rockin' acoustic song, which we haven't had very often from the band. It's a very interesting departure for them to be doing it, but I found it to be so interesting. I would actually really love if they would do a rocked up acoustic album of new original songs like this. It could be a lot of fun. Track number 9, The Mask. So this one here's the only ballad for the album itself. It's classic like the Ballad of Jane, and even like that song where the title is not part of the song itself. The word mask is not part of this song, but it's used like the 17th century term meaning a dramatic entertainment, and this song definitely falls in line or would qualify for that. The last one to tell you guys about is track number 10, If You Wanna, which is a killer rockin' song on here. It's a great way to end the album, in my opinion. It's perfect sort of mindset for the overall feeling, sound of the album, everything that the band is doing on here. Don't worry about pleasing others. Just do it if you want to do it, right? And that's what this one is all about. And so let's go ahead now and take a look at this. Front cover, very classic LA Guns. For the last so many albums from LA Guns, they've been focusing on that original classic logo. It's really tied into, the representation of who the band is. But also with this album cover, we get a little away from it because instead of it being so big and prominent, the way that it has been on, say, Black Diamonds, Checkered Past, The Devil You Know, and this one here, The Missing Piece, right? They've pulled back from it, making it not the main focal point on here. We see the girl. I find that to be interesting. I'm glad we're getting away from that a bit and seeing something a little unique like this, but I love the old classic 1980s feel of the whole album cover itself, and the tattoo, all of that just screams the whole sleaze rock vibe, which is very cool in my opinion. So backside of it here, getting some leopard print on there, the 10 tracks, and this one here being a digipack opening up like so. I'll pop out the disc, although nothing behind it, just some more of that leopard print stuff. And I'll pull out the book here. I have to say, I'm a little bit bummed there are no photos from the band in here. We just get lyrics in the booklet, and the rest of the information is on the cardboard digipack portion of this. But that's the way things go sometimes. I get it. Still, I always love to see photos of my favorite bands, artists, all that stuff mixed in. If I'm going to purchase the physical product, have that in the collection. And you guys see my huge collection behind me. I like to get photos of the band. So let's talk bottom line on this album here. I think this is a great LA Guns album. It fits right in with their catalog. It's a very fitting thing for the band, I think, overall as well. For me, it's, it holds on to plenty of the sleaze rock sound that a lot of people love from those first 2 albums, but it also incorporates and develops on other sounds that the band has had throughout its career. It's got the rock sounds, it's got the more groove-oriented stuff, the more soulful-oriented pieces, and then it even starts building on that like they're doing with Runaway Train in here, the more acoustic style song. So a few surprises thrown in as well, keeping things very interesting. As I said, holds my interest all the way through. No skippable tracks on this. It's one of those ones that I found out when I get to the end of this, I start this thing over and I've kept going on it. So even though it immediately feels good and caught my ear, it's also held my attention in repeated listens over and over on this. And so, I think just the way that the album ends on here on the note of if you wanna, I think if you wanna, you should definitely check this thing out. Give it a good listen. I think for LA Guns fans and even rock fans in general, I think this one here has a lot for you guys to enjoy. So there you go. That is the new review for the brand new LA Guns Leopard Skin album. This one here being released on April 4th of 2025. So like I said, mark your calendars, get ready for the countdown, and definitely keep an eye out. This upcoming week, I'm going to be doing an interview with Tracii Guns about the new album. So that will be posting soon. So lots of cool LA Guns stuff all around to enjoy. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.